going live with 3D chess from Star Trek.
All right. Hey, guys. Welcome back to Testing Normal. This is Curtis.
This is Jordan.
And this is a podcast where we talk about anything and everything we want to.
Boom, boom. Even 2D chess. I think your volume's on. It's not mine.
Yeah, it's probably mine. Dude, so Jordan and I were just capitulating over the
That's
topic
way too big of a word, man.
of over the topic of chess.
Chess, yes.
And we are both fans of chess. And neither of us have played each other, though. It'd be interesting to say neither of us, because that would mean, like, you couldn't say just one of us have played each other.
Well, yeah, you could.
The other person would have to participate to say we
What
played
if
each other.
one of us was blackout drunk and had no recollection of it, but the
Yeah.
one person did?
That person still would have played with them, though.
Yeah, but not really.
Yeah, that's an interesting discussion.
I mean, not that any of us gets blackout drunk and plays chess.
Yeah, that would be interesting, though.
That would definitely be testing the bounds of what would be considered normal.
We should try it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. No.
So
If I even drink like one drink these days, I feel sick.
yeah, me too. I get nauseous very easy.
I don't like it, really.
I don't like getting
I
nauseous.
enjoy whiskey. I really do.
I enjoy. You know
But
what?
I enjoy it much less than I used to.
I'm
the
far
feeling
more
of
of
it.
a fan of wine now than I used to be.
I'm not that gay.
Yeah, well, you know, some of us are proud, and some of us aren't. So it's
Some
all
of
right.
us- Oh my
all right.
gosh. Yes.
Dude, I have been debating buying a 4-person chess board.
And just the last 5 minutes.
No, I've been thinking about it.
Oh,
for a while.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a really
This is something you were telling me about right before my life. I didn't know that existed.
4-person chess. So guys out there and ladies, if you're looking to play a challenging chess game and have 3 other people that'd like to play with you,
How does that work? Like, does it go quicker or slower?
I think it goes quicker.
Really?
Yeah, because you have more people like saying, "Come on, go."
It's a much different strategy.
Yeah, it's a much different strategy because you have basically opposition coming from 3 sides, obviously, that are trying to make it to the opposite end, right?
It just seems like Chinese checkers.
Well, the pieces move differently.
Well, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, so today I was playing with Josh,
Mm-hmm.
and he moved his queen out and over like a knight, and I was like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, does it not move like that? I was like, no, it can't. And I was like, though, I was thinking about this the other day.
There is
The
a
queen
move.
can go diagonal as far as it wants,
Yes.
and straight as far as it wants.
Yeah.
It can't jump pieces, but it can, as far as it's not impeded,
Okay.
it can go. What if the queen could also do what the knight does? So then it could do everything that everything on the board can do. Does that make
that'd
sense?
be crazy. Yeah,
Because
right.
it can already do everything
Right.
but what the knight can
That
do.
makes sense. That'd be cool. That'd be an interesting twist.
It would be interesting.
There is a move, and I can't remember what it's called, and it's like, I can't remember how it's performed, and actually I can't technically remember what the piece is that can do it. I think it's the queen, though.
Such a good conversation.
I think it is the queen, but it can do a move that is like, it's like either jumping another piece, or it's a weird maneuver, and has a really crazy name to it. I'll have to look it up.
It's like a specific situation.
Yeah, kind of like how you can
Jump checkers.
no, you can house your king and rook, or not house it.
What?
Yeah, you know how your king and rook they can move into a. Oh my gosh, people out there that play chess are gonna be screaming right now.
Wait. What? You can do what?
Oh my gosh! Wait! You're kidding me right now.
No, I'm not kidding at all.
Yeah, how you're if you have not moved your king on your rook, you can do. It's called is it called housing them, or
Let's call
what's
it Yankee
called?
swap.
Where they maneuver and the rook switches positions with the king, and it forms like basically a protective kind of move with the king and the rook.
I
Yeah.
have no idea.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. King. Oh my god! I'm gonna have to look up this. This is
I-
embarrassing. I'm embarrassed for this.
I don't
that
think
we
you should
didn't
be
know
embarrassed. I mean, it's not like chess is like, baseball or anything. Like,
that.
I don't know. That's
Move. Okay, so castling. That's what it's called. Thank you.
no. That makes more sense than rooking.
Yeah. No, castling is a move in the game of chess involving a player's king and either of the player's original rooks. Castling consists of moving the king 2 squares towards the rook on the player's first rank, then moving the rook to the square over which the king crossed. So basically, they just, if this is the king, this is the rook,
Let me see it.
they move like that.
There's a picture of it?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. It's called castling. And it's a protective move, essentially.
Yeah.
You never knew about that?
No, so the rook goes to the other side of the king.
Right.
And the king... What the heck?
Mm-hmm. Man, you don't watch enough chess, bro.
I don't know. Apparently not. So it can go... Can there be any pieces in between?
No. Not for it to work.
Right, yeah. So they can't... They can only cross over each other. They can't cross over
Right.
the queen, the bishop,
Right.
or the knight. Those have to be out of the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Castling.
What?
Anyways, guys, our topic today.
That is impressive. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a chess fan.
Yeah, whatever, man.
You know.
Sounds like it.
So Jordan doesn't know much about chess, guys, but
No.
I'm gonna teach him. I'm gonna educate him.
But
one of
I
these
have
days.
played more recently than you.
Yeah, he played today.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Ask me if I finished that game.
Did you finish that game?
No.
Yeah. If I would have been there, I could have helped you.
But my son,
Josh win.
my son does have a new song that's "I'm the master
Ooh.
of chess," because
Yeah?
he keeps beating Haley.
Oh, okay.
She's very upset.
Well, today's topic,
Yeah,
on that note, which is not related to it at all,
yeah.
is
This is something we were mulling around.
we were
today.
mulling over because I don't know. We had this conversation a little bit. We went out to dinner last night, our wives and I, and Jordan and I, and we were talking about fear a little bit, and we were talking about some certain circumstances what would cause us the most fear.
Specifically around the trip. What's the most thing that you're afraid of going to Rome?
Yeah, like different things that people would be afraid of. We have this trip coming up next weekend, and the thing that
Dude,
I was the most concerned about.
1 week from now, we will be in
Yeah,
Rome.
a Rome. That's how you say it technically, a Rome.
Rome.
So what I was most concerned about was getting sick.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to get sick and lose energy and not being able to enjoy the experience. That's what I'm most concerned
My
about.
fear was getting pickpocketed,
Getting pickpocketed.
which is a legitimate fear.
Yeah, it's a fear, but I just you just keep your stuff on you, close to you. No
Yeah.
big deal. You can't fight off a virus as easy.
I can fight off a virus.
Oh, my God. And then
What was it? What was
Jordan's wife was most afraid of
us going to jail?
us getting in trouble with the law.
Yeah, and going to Rome
Right.
prison.
Yeah. And then Annie was, I think, us missing our flights or something like that.
No, not getting back.
Right, because our
Flights.
flights. or
Like
something.
flights getting canceled
Right.
or
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly.
Yeah. So anyways, we started talking today a little bit more about fear.
Like, what is it?
What
And
is it?
How
and-
do different people... there's so many opinions on it, and there's so many people that have, like irrational fears. They
Right.
have rational fears. They're just fearful people.
Yeah.
Well, what does that mean, and how do different people attack that?
Yeah.
And it's an interesting talk, because I think a lot of
Interesting
people are afraid of fear itself.
Well, fear is a evolutionary response, I believe.
Right.
And
At its core.
At its core. And it's a physiological response. And there is obviously psychological components to it, but there is often a great amount of physiological components to it that people don't even recognize.
Right.
And I had a couple of interesting studies that I was looking at today and
Yeah.
reading about, and wanted to bring them up. But there's one really cool study published in Psychological Science. They
Because you
showed,
read that often.
I do all the time.
Every day.
Not every day, but a couple times
once a week.
is how much humans respond to each other's scents. So the scent,
Oh, smell.
smell,
Yeah.
and
The
how-
aroma.
the aroma, and how that affects the individual's perception and fear.
Right.
So one really cool study is they took a group of people. So like, for example, like with crowds and how crowds can erupt into mass panic.
Right.
And how like a room full of people telling ghost stories might all get extra frightened,
Right.
Part of that component is actually smell. And they took this group of individuals. This is kind of gross, but they took two different groups of guys.
Right.
One group of guys was watching The Shining, and the other group of guys was watching Jackass. And
What?
Yeah. And they got them. I don't know if it was somehow at the end of the movie they collected their body sweat from
What?
the Shining movie, and then from the group that was watching Jackass. And then they got a group of females, and they showed them each. They had them response to smelling the pheromone from the sweat from The Shining, and when that group of tested men,
What?
and when they smelled the Shining pheromones or sweat, they had pupil dilation, and they had dopamine stress responses when they smelled that sweat.
I would
And
too.
then-
It's sweat.
And then when they smelled the sweat from the Jackass movie,
Yeah.
it was more of a repulsed. There was no pupil dilation. It was more of like, oh no, that's just gross. Oh, like it
Oh,
wasn't
weird.
a fear response.
So
Like,
there wasn't like a pheromone,
there wasn't a
or hormone
fear,
or something.
a fear-based response like there was with
So it's
the
like
Shining
when
sweat.
when they say animals can smell fear on you, they literally probably can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I thought that was a really cool study.
What are the things that, like, if you think about life, because that's where I kind of think of it, like from an evolutionary standpoint, yes,
Mhm.
you know, like our buddy Luke was talking about fear this morning. It was like you see a snake, you jump. Like before you can even compute that there's a snake, there's a physiological
Yeah.
response to survive.
Uh-huh.
But there is this point at which it's not anxiety, it's not
Well, I'll tell you what it is.
obsessiveness. That's actual like
It's
fear
genetic.
for things. You think so?
Oh yeah,
Really?
partially. Yes, there's a very interesting study. Another
Okay.
study that I have.
Yeah.
And they took. They did this with.
Genetic or raised?
Well, it's
like-
both.
Okay.
There's for sure a nature and
That would
nurture
be,
component
'cause
to
that
it,
would be an interesting.
but there is a much more prominent nature component to it than what they previously had thought.
Really?
So they found
Not
that
nurture. Nature.
there is a nurture component to it,
Mhm.
but there's much more of a nature component to it as far as like your genetic makeup.
Right. Yeah. Huh.
And so what they found is one cool study is that they took with mice,
Right.
and they had a group of mice, and they had a scent of this. I can't remember what type of flower it was. This certain flower scent, and they released it while this mouse was in a cage. And whenever the scent came, they would shock the mouse.
What?
And so it came this kind of like Pavlovian response.
So
that
mean.
anytime the smell came into the room, boom, they'd shock the mouse. Okay, so they let that mouse then breed, and then that mouse had babies. Okay,
Mhm.
and then they would expose those babies to that smell, and those mice, as soon as they smelled it, they would have a physiological fear response without even shocking them.
What?
Their elevated heart rates, elevated hormone production, dopamine, endorphin response, stress response.
What's weird about that is it goes against what a lot of people have thought for a long time, that things like that can be passed through DNA.
Well, the crazy thing is, it not only affected the children,
Mhm.
but it affected the grandchildren mice.
So I wonder how
And-
much of
and-
that like we have.
And prior, and then that smell, and so they did a really good job though of isolating other mice
Mm-hmm.
that were not around that smell, and then no other mice had that fear response unless they had
That's
that
so
shocking
weird.
experience.
It's like, remember, I don't know if I've said on here before, but we've had this like mouse problem in our house ever since it got really cold. We never had a big
yeah.
house, and then all of a sudden we're like, God,
Right.
where's all this mouse stuff coming
Right.
from? Well, we haven't caught any in a long time now. Like, and we were catching like 1 or 2 a night for a good 9-10 days.
Oh dang!
And I mean, like, there was one in my shower that I shot with a BB gun, and then one in our other shower, and it was allergic to shampoo bottles. And like all this stuff, and we put poison out, we put traps out. Like, I don't care how you feel about mice. Mice are disgusting. When they're in your house, you want them dead. And they're just not that cute. And
Interesting.
they're gross. But I had read that all that to say that I had read that they will get used to the types of things that you're using, and since they breed so fast, which I don't know if you know this, but they can breed within like 6 weeks of life. Can you imagine? And
That's amazing.
Really young.
But also their lifespan is so much shorter.
oh,
so
it's really
if
short.
you look at the it's relative. That'd be interesting if it would be like the same. Like if a mouse
They can
lives
so
for
they can breed within 6 weeks, but if they could live for a year, they could have between 60 and 80 offspring.
so that their birth
Their
how long their
gestation.
gestation is really short.
Yeah. Yeah, they can, but I mean a litter of them is
Have I told you on the podcast? Remember the whole heartbeat thing? Like the number of heartbeats a mouse has. A mouse heartbeats at 180 beats per
Oh
second.
yeah, it ends up being the same
or
as
per
a
minute.
human's life.
Yeah, and then a dog's beats at 120 beats.
I think it was
per
like a
minute,
shower
and
thought
then
we
a
did like
Elephants is like 40 beats per minute, and in the lifespan, the mouse, even though it lives a year, it has the same amount of heartbeats as an elephant's.
Right. Yeah, you did. We have talked about that before.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
That's pretty crazy.
It's pretty
how that
wild.
works. Wild. So fear. So DNA. Let's go back to some more opinion.
Oh, yeah.
Because I basically might have opinion on.
I got
on
a couple
fear.
more interesting studies.
So this is where it's interesting, and it'll get into your current wheelhouse a little bit. Is if we're talking about Enneagram, this is kind of where my mind went to. I know that like is a turn on for you right now. So I'll sit over here. You stay over there.
so hot.
I'm a 6 or counterphobic 6 or whatever, I think. Something like that.
Right.
So that means that I'm on the fear-driven side of things. Like that my decisions are made by fear and all that kind of stuff. But I also do know, like, I talked to a lady at a health conference a few years ago about fear. Like there was a whole thing on just fear and what fear is and how it's just another one of the emotions that treated correctly can be useful. And I was like, I totally resonate with this because I don't walk around in fear. I don't think you would ever say like, oh, Jordan's a fearful person. You would say you prepare for odd things that I would never think of, but
Right.
but you wouldn't say I'm walking around a fearful person of things.
Correct.
And if you looked at the things that I've done in my life, you wouldn't say you're walking around as someone who has a lot of fears. You kind of run towards
Right.
them. And that's kind of how I approach fear. It's just another one of the senses, taste,
Yeah.
feel, touch, whatever. I feel fear. I have to weigh the options.
You recognize it maybe more than other people.
Yeah. I weigh
Yeah.
the options. I'm like, what do I need to do to make sure that worst fear doesn't come to fruition?
Well, it's interesting. Fear in and of itself, people will say like the opposite of love is hate,
Right.
but really, fear is the opposite of love.
Yeah.
And fear. So oxytocin is the chemical that your brain releases
Mhm.
when you're in love, and oxytocin is one of the most powerful things to overcome fear. So,
Oh.
for example, this is a perfect example, actually. Your children.
Yeah.
Most people will pause and think about whether they would jump in front of a bullet or a train or a car because they're fear of death if it was
I went
an
to the
individual. But if it's your child, you have such a trained oxytocin-like response
Right.
from your child that you would it's way easier to conceptualize, oh, I'll die for my kid
Right.
in the blink of an eye.
Mhm.
And that is overriding your fear. The opposite of fear, the opposite of love is fear, basically, and
Yeah.
vice versa.
Yeah, I think that there's different types of fear though. So I wouldn't say it always is. So I was reading I found some really cool quotes about fear. I was looking for like a catchy title and I ended up with something more boring. But here's a few of the ones that were like my favorites. So curiosity will conquer fear even more than bravery will. So the idea behind that is if you're
Yeah.
afraid of something, get curious about that fear and research, like look into it, learn about it. So curiosity will help you. So that's a type of fear that it's different than jump in front of a bullet. You can't find curiosity and destroy that fear very well.
Yeah.
But if someone's living in fear, and then
I think it's another way to
here's
think
one
about
that's
it, yeah.
that's really deep if you think about it. Ignorance is the parent of fear.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. That's great. It's a great line. Yeah, that's cool.
So,
Did you know you literally can be scared to death?
yeah.
Do you know how the physiological breakdown of it?
No, I would imagine it stops your heart somehow.
Kind of, yeah, basically. I mean, So if you can't calm down after the fear initial adrenaline rush
Yeah.
that comes along with kind of like a shock, the adrenaline and calcium basically keeps pouring into your heart, and then that
So you
causes
OD.
and then that causes a tremor,
Right.
basically a regular heartbeat. And then in very rare cases, your blood pressure then drops because you don't have an appropriate heartbeat, and then it causes you to basically go unconscious, causes you to pass out.
Right.
And then you don't have enough blood flow to your brain, which then affects the function to your other organs, which then causes you to die.
That's bizarre.
Yeah.
It's weird that like something that's trying to protect you would end up killing you. But I guess there's a lot of things that our body does like that kind of goes overboard
Yeah.
sometimes.
Well, there's a response called a vagal response that a
Right.
lot of people have, and it's like when you're giving blood, or when you're when you get up too fast, or someone startles you.
Is that the one where like people will say like they woke up, had to go to the bathroom, ran to the bathroom, started to pee, and fell over, passed out?
Yeah, or when you're sitting on the toilet and you're pooping and you're straining really hard, you're bearing down really hard, and you're grunting,
Like, where did he
And-
die? He pooped himself to death.
and basically it causes you to pass out, and then that is kind of like a
Oh, that would be so weird.
yeah, basically it causes your blood pressure to drop and then you pass out. But it's never.
Does that generally not
usually
happen in
fatal.
people that are like fit,
No,
like healthy, or
no.
it just
It's
it
probably.
has
I feel like it's more common.
really.
Oh yeah, I see.
Oh,
in
is that because maybe they
perfectly
have
healthy
lower blood
individuals.
pressure
maybe?
and usually lower resting heart rate?
Yeah, they have that could be definitely related to it. Yeah.
So what are things that you are afraid of?
Ooh, that's a vulnerable question.
I know. Well, why
Great
not?
question.
We're here, and
Yeah, let's test it.
Yeah.
The things that I'm afraid of. Whew. Man, I guess I could have a superficial answer to that, and then a more deep answer.
well, I mean, it still could
But
go a
there's
lot
a
of ways.
lot of
It could
things
be
that I
like
could be afraid
I'm
of.
afraid of snakes, or it could be I'm afraid of spiders. But
yeah.
like, I guess what I would be digging into is like, if you follow down this road of curiosity kills fear. I'll use my example of when you asked me last night, what are you most afraid of? And I said pickpocketing.
Yeah.
That doesn't prevent me from going to Rome.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if if I'm being really blunt, like if I knew that there was a risk of being shot in the face, it doesn't prevent me from doing it. The fear is not like debilitating to me. It just allows
yeah.
me. It allows me
Yeah,
to
sure.
plan to avoid said fear.
I think
So that's what I'm asking. Is like, what are you afraid of?
know.
And then
on a
My follow-up's gonna be,
philosophical
what do you do?
level in life, I think I'd probably be afraid. I have like, as an 8, I really like to challenge myself
yeah,
in certain ways, and I like to succeed. And so I would probably say I have a fear of not fully utilizing my potential, and then basically wasting time or wasting opportunities, and then not having. I would say I have fear of indecisiveness sometimes, like not
Oh,
knowing.
that's kind of funny. That's not funny and like make fun of your fear, but it's kind of a comical fear.
Mm-hmm.
A fear
Yeah.
of indecisiveness usually leads to more indecisiveness.
Yeah, and that's why oftentimes like I'm very like when I have a decision or I decide to do something, I'm very much just like it's happening.
I'm very aware.
Let's go
Yeah, I'm
now.
very
This has to
aware.
happen
Yeah.
because I'm not going to allow any time to waste
Right.
because I want to cherish every moment so much.
Right.
And so that's maybe on a broad philosophical level of fear for me. And then
So is that what you do to combat it? Your fear of indecisiveness and
Leads to
and
decisive.
wasting leads to your rushed.
I don't know if I'd call it rushed because I definitely sometimes it takes me
Leads
a long
to your
time.
getting shit done.
It leads to me getting shit done. Because it definitely like sometimes it does take me a long time to decide what to do. But once I decide what to do,
It's there.
then it happens.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
the hard part. Like I definitely take a long time sometimes to decide what to do, and when I finally decide it, then it happens.
Right.
Yeah.
What are some negatives of that to you?
Let's see here, Dr. Phil.
I'm just curious. Like, I'm
Some
curious.
negatives?
I'm curious how people approach fear differently than I do.
Yeah, negatives to that would be I'd have to think about that. I think the negatives are the things that I would like to. I don't know. There are pros and cons to it. Like, negatives are sometimes having a difficult time when other people can't make a decision.
That's what I was going to ask. I was going to say, like, is it, I know, like, for me, I tend to be pretty, I'm not like a weak person in most regards. Like, I'm pretty strong. I can, like, hold my own, share my opinion, not get bulldozed or whatever. I feel like if I wasn't that way, that it could be really easy for you to bulldoze me. Does that make sense? Whereas, like, I know, like, when, like, Curtis just needs to run free.
No, I think in my, I think in a.
I'm not saying that in a bad way.
No, yeah. I think that's interesting. As an 8, I think most people would probably. It depends.
Maybe bulldoze is a bad term.
Well, no. I think it's okay.
Maybe just push people.
Yeah, I think as an 8, there's levels of healthy
Yes, that's bulldozing.
and unhealthy. That's exactly the definition of
I came up with a new term for bulldoze that sounds less like bulldozer.
I think you have to learn how to read people.
Yeah.
And so it's not necessarily that I want to bulldoze other people,
Right.
but I want to be able to have direction in my life.
Yeah. And if
for
they
myself.
are affecting that.
Yeah. So, like, if somebody doesn't want to do something I want to do, that's okay.
Right.
But I wouldn't want them to determine what I do.
Right.
Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't want them to prevent me from doing something.
Yeah.
If they don't want to do it, that's okay.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be controlled by them or their decisions.
True.
That would be hard for me.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And so I'm like, I definitely have learned to, I feel like, read what other people and, like, be sensitive to what they want and don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I like to.
I think you're good
like,
at asking that question. Because there's been times where I'm like on the fence on something. You're like, yeah, you know what? Never mind.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm not even deciding for myself yet. But you're just like, you kind of realized right away, like, oh, wait. This isn't even a question anymore.
Yeah.
Like, and that's fine. But like with this Rome thing, it would have never been something that probably I would have said, hey,
right.
let's go do this. But when you brought it up, I was like, and it took me a few days to be like,
yeah.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I think it's a level of maturity when you have that personality type to, like, just want to do things and get things done. You have to acquire the ability to be like, okay, how much
I will
is this
say that
person
once I gave you
taking
the
too
reins
far?
on that and said, yeah, let's do it. It was like
It happened.
It was like a downhill sled with no brakes. Like, oh my gosh,
It gets
there
done.
it goes. We're going a billion miles an hour, people.
You were like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And I'm like, okay, well, let's get an appointment today to get your passport.
I know. We're like,
you were like,
which doesn't. If you're gonna get your passport, just go either drive to a spot that's gonna do it overnight or whatever. Don't go to FedEx. They just charge you a lot of money to do the same thing that the passport place can do.
Basically they take your picture. They're cheaper to take your picture, I guess.
No, they weren't.
Than the post office.
They were the same price.
Were they?
It would have been the same price. Although it took me less time when I went down there.
Yeah.
So if your post office is busy, you could go
Right,
get
which
your
they
picture.
can be.
Yeah,
They can be.
You can get your picture
slammed.
taken at FedEx, and then just take it down there.
Yeah.
Which is
Um,
really funny.
So, what about your, like, philosophical broad fear for you?
Yeah. I really don't like unknowns. Like, they scare
interesting.
the bejesus out of me. Which was, I will be, it depends. So,
Mhm.
like, it kind of fluctuates. If I have no control, it almost is comforting to me. Because I know that I can't. I know that I have nothing to do with it.
That's interesting.
So, like, when I was in the military, no decisions were my decisions. And so it was just like my brain shut off.
Ooh, I like that.
And time flew. But as soon as I gained back, and I would do the unknown. Like, it was fine. Like, I would just function fine. It was like robotic. Because I didn't have to make the decisions. So it was almost like the stress of decisions were gone. And I knew that there was nothing I could do to change it short of going to prison. And so I just did it. And, like, I was able to conform and do it. And that fear went away.
There's a
But
freedom
as soon
in
as
that,
I
yeah.
have control, like, I really don't like the unknown. I really don't like change. Like, I hated moving this summer. I would have stayed in the same small, tiny house that I was content with and fine to. I understand it was not easy, but it would have, in my mind, it was way more fearful to move. Like, I even tell Haley to this day, I was like, I don't want to move. Like, if you die, I will just get roommates. I don't want to move. I don't want to think about that. I don't want to have to rearrange. Like, I'll fix and move the things that I'm in.
Is that really the unknown, or is that?
It is.
Is
I
that,
don't.
is that just
It's
fear
unknown.
of
It's unknown and change.
change? Right. That's what I would say. It's more
Yeah.
of the fear of change.
But
almost.
but the unknown in my mind is things you can't plan for the unknown without doing like a billion calculations.
yeah.
Like when you don't know what's going to happen, you have to think of almost everything you can think of, and because that's how my brain goes, it just like overwhelms me. I think that's
Right.
kind of where it goes. So the unknown becomes something I can't plan for, and because I can't plan for
Well, and
something
that's
that's
hard.
known, I have to.
So that's really challenging. Like,
So like going to Rome,
yeah, that's a really.
I can research.
Yeah.
I can be like, what's there? What's gone on in the last 10 years? What's this? And I've done that. Like I have
Yeah.
like and like pursued like what are the things that could go wrong so that I can plan for those and remove those stresses. I do that to remove those fears so I can enjoy myself, but it takes effort to get there.
That's super interesting. That's interesting, dude. I like it. I like that. It's an interesting combination of fears.
And sometimes, okay, here's some of my most irrational fears. I think I sent you this picture the other day. It was like, what are the fears that I had it on our podcast last week. It's like the fears you have in the airport, and one of them is like,
Oh yeah.
if I accidentally,
what if I
what if I accidentally have a bomb in my
Yeah.
bag? And it's like, I've literally had that fear of, oh shoot, what do I have in here? Like, do I have like anything? Like, oh my gosh, I just passed a case where. By the way, if anyone's flying on a plane soon, like we are, the most entertaining thing in an airport is not watching people. It by far, it's not. It's walking by the box of things that people try to take on the plane. Have you ever seen this?
Yeah.
It's a glass case, and the one in Portland for a while had a chainsaw in it, a leaf blower. Like it was like somebody thought.
I don't
it
feel
would,
like a leaf blower would be that bad of a thing.
it's an
though.
engine. It's a combustion engine.
Well, but I mean, they have electric leaf blowers.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
No. It was. Yeah. So it was like, who is commuting?
Right. They probably
To their
had it in
landscaping
They had it in
job.
their carry-on, I bet, or not their carry-on. They had it in their check-in,
Maybe.
probably.
I don't know.
Yeah, they're going to a landscaping convention and they want to show off their
Or
modifications.
they
to
just have a
leaf
really
blower.
bad commute and they're in the wrong industry.
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny.
They're like, well, I had this one job in Seattle. I just go up there with my leaf blower.
Dude. So that's fear, guys. That's a little bit of fear, a little bit of history, a little bit of scientific studies for you. Wanted to throw those out there with you. Dude, should we do some product reviews real quick?
Yeah. So we got some more stuff, guys.
Got a couple of things we want.
And we literally we
Review.
opened them up so they were ready, but really haven't dorked around with them too much. This is a travel adapter, which
Travel
is
adapter.
kind of cool.
Who's it by?
Triace.
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 Triace. Tryace. 2,000 watts.
Look at this. Look at this. The
It's a cool
catchphrase
box.
is common made uncommon.
Ooh.
I don't know what that's supposed to
Okay,
mean.
Aristotle.
Triace.net. Triace. I cannot get this box open. It's like suction cup.
So
together.
basically, the cool things about this
Yeah.
are
It is a travel converter. So people don't know there's 220 volt and there's 110. We have 110 in the US. Most other countries have 220. Most things will work cross voltage now these days. Your computer has a switch for it. Most laptops do it and everything. So you can just get an adapter that does new conversion. This one actually does voltage conversion.
automatically,
Yeah,
which is
automatically.
cool. And it has USB adapters, which is nice.
Actually, this just only puts out. Or no, it does both. Yeah. Oh no, one of them is the 110. So this one down here is 220.
Oh, okay.
This one up here is
So,
yeah.
cool.
This one's 210.
Cool converter. USB has some options
Has
for
some USB ports on it, and it has
adapters.
it has Europe. It has the L's,
Europe and
it
UK.
has,
Yeah, so it's cool.
So it's pretty
It's nice.
sweet. They plug in there. These ones always baffle me. Like, can you imagine like designing a plug that took up that much space?
I know. Doesn't make that much sense.
No.
It's silly. Silly people.
Although it's for 220, I guess. So yeah, this is
Next cool thing we
travel
got.
adapter. We're gonna try this out. Actually try it out versus like look at it. I'm pretty confident it works well. And it comes with a cool little travel bag, so that's cool.
Dude, I don't have the name of this one. This tactical pin.
It is just a tactical pin.
Okay.
So,
So basically, well, you could see it on our links, but a tactical pin
yeah.
that.
Do you not know what a tactical pin? You've never
no,
heard
no,
of
no,
these?
no. I was wondering about the links. I was thinking about that.
Oh, I'll have a link to it.
Okay. So this tactical pin's pretty cool. It has like basically like 5 different kind of formats you can arrange for it. Has a cool little flashlight on the end that actually looks like it's doing a pattern, maybe SOS.
It's just a strobe. It's not.
Yeah,
SOS.
it's a strobe. And then it has the option for the one end you can basically unscrew and you can use it as a window smasher. The other end you can use it as a pin.
Yeah, the window smasher's pretty cool.
Window smasher's cool. Window smasher's cool. You could take the pin off and replace.
For those
the
that don't know, it's
pins,
for popping a window in your car, like if you get trapped.
or if you want to steal somebody's car.
True.
The other end has a little adapter on it that you can screw on and screw off, and you can use it for opening bottles. A little hex key kind of.
Yeah, and you can swap that out for the rape whistle.
You can put a rape whistle on there. So, like, if you were in a very slow rape-like situation, you can unscrew
You can
it
unscrew it and blow the whistle.
and then blow the
Oh, you know
whistle.
what? Also, it could just be that if you're out in the woods and you need to blow a whistle.
Yeah, that's more of a likely situation.
I would say don't wait around with it.
Yeah.
The one feature I wish that it had, because I had one and it got stolen from me.
A rape whistle?
No.
Oh.
The pin.
Okay.
Is it had on the end of it what was called a DNA collector.
Oh, interesting.
And it had these little like castle thing. It
kinda
looked kind of like
creepy.
a rook in chess. And what it was meant for was it wasn't sharp to cut you, but if you jabbed it onto someone and just barely twisted, you would have a sample you could give to the police.
That's amazing.
Isn't it? And it was literally called a DNA collector.
That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
Last thing we got here. We won't
Wait,
like-
that's not the last
Oh,
thing.
no.
We have
Oh, no,
one more after
thing
this.
This is a Amagarm. Amagarm coming to you straight out of probably Shanghai.
Well, it's most everything. comes
yeah,
from there
almost
anyway.
everything. But
This is pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's a pretty cool little scale here. You got
Curtis
you
thought it was
test your-
off because he's gained a lot of weight.
Test your BMI. Oh, it does BMI and muscle mass and
That's
body
awesome.
fat and weight.
and it's Bluetooth.
And it has Bluetooth option.
We
allowing
did
you-
try this one out before because it would be kind of weird to get it out and try it, but
It has an overload sensor, so if you're a little too heavy, it'll tell you.
no. Okay, so give it to me. Look at this. I noticed this was the one thing I did notice when it came. It said, where is it?
Like a max limit.
Yeah, I know it said like has a high max limit. Maybe it was on the bag before I took the plastic off,
Oh.
and it's like
High max limit, 200.
no, it says right here, high max capacity 396 pounds.
Yeah, that's gonna
pretty
get
up there.
Yeah, that actually is not bad.
No,
It's not bad.
so
390.
if you're in the neighborhood
because
of
it's not glass.
400
That helps.
pounds and are trying to get some weight
Yeah.
loss and whatever,
Amagram scale.
this could be good. It could.
How much was that? $30.
I think it's like $30. Yeah,
$30.
and you can
not bad.
sync it with your phone to like keep track and everything. So
Okay, guys.
that's pretty cool.
The next thing we got, and last thing for the evening, then we'll hit you guys with some other.
Curtis is gonna
interesting
try
stuff, Is it's too many pieces. I don't know if I'm gonna
Here.
throw it all right together right now, but it's a neck
It's a traction device.
traction device. So you tie one into the top of like a bar or a doorknob, and then you lay down on the ground.
This actually feels really
Put your head in the traction device, and then it helps to pull and separate your spinal column a little bit and take some pressure off your spinal cord.
Comes with a dog leash.
Comes
Actually,
with
don't
a
know what
dog
that
leash.
is.
Looks like a little S&M device,
It must
basically.
be. It must be to go like to hook to a door or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've
pretty
seen
cool.
them hooked to like a. You just lay your head in here.
Yeah. That's
This
cool.
Okay, this is really soft.
Very padded.
Oh, and this is an eye cover, so you could actually do face down.
No, your head goes on that part.
Yes, but you could do face down.
Oh,
too.
yeah. Yeah, you could. Oh, that'd be interesting positioning for your neck.
I think it'd be perfect.
Probably not.
Because it did say somewhere like eye cover or something like that. Maybe. I think it. Oh, maybe it's you can use it for that. Like it's soft. Like you could lay down and put it on your face.
Yeah.
Like dual purpose.
Yeah.
That seems more right. It is actually really like
So if you guys are looking for,
Squishy
if you guys
soft.
got some chronic neck
know how
pain,
soft that
that could
is?
help.
like
Oh, that's very nice. Ooh.
yeah.
Hello.
Like I actually want a T-shirt made of that.
Ooh, that'd be a thick T-shirt.
No, not made of all
Yeah.
of it. Just the stuff on it. Like that's like a really soft T-shirt material. Wait, was that it?
Yeah.
Oh, Okay.
That's it, dude. Okay, so any other hot topics for this week you want to hit on? Throw out there for testing normal
okay,
peeps.
so coronavirus update.
Ugh.
I know. China is now admitting to 1,716 health workers that have contracted coronavirus, and 6 are already dead.
And honestly,
Those are health workers.
That number is not.
Well, no.
There's far more than that.
So
that
could be close because that's just health workers. That's not people.
Yeah.
That's
no,
not.
I think there's more workers that are dead than that.
You think so?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Probably.
the way that China has limited the information from being released.
Well, okay, so that's what
all this information that we're getting is from the government.
I know, and so that's what actually was interesting in this article. Is it was like talking about like what we've done, like that basically China has cut off, like, our government. They said the Trump administration, but like
Right.
whatever, it's our government. That they had cut them off, and that basically like we're asking for updates. We apparently offered a bunch of help in the beginning,
CDC,
and
said no.
nobody was taking it. And we're like trying to figure out, what are you doing to contain this? What are you doing to do this? Like, the rest of the world is actually trying to help, and it's an odd, which just leads me to believe more of the whole conspiracy that they actually were experimenting, and this might have been something that they were
I've seen
experimenting
several
with.
interesting articles about how there was that viral research facility
Right.
that was like
Right
a
by
mile
Wuhan.
away from this like supposed outbreak from the market.
And how many movies have we seen where that happens?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
and it's got to be true because it's movies.
And probably 50% of it had Nicolas Cage in it.
Yeah.
You know.
Speaking of
that
guy, yeah.
something special.
So just to kind of hit on something, just a couple things I saw this week. Number one, or not number one, but just the next one. NASA had an issue with Voyager 2. So we have 2 probes that have gone interstellar. So there's 2 things that have been traveling for 3 decades.
Right.
And
Or more.
Voyager 1, Voyager 2. Voyager 2 went offline. Something happened, whatever. And they did a software like refresh and updated it, like got the firmware updated. Okay. This is what's crazy. I'm going to look it up because now I forget exactly how long it is. But so think about this. Do you know how long it takes to talk to Mars with radio?
With a radio?
Mm-hmm.
Is it like 8 minutes?
No.
An hour?
It's about 30 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So 30-minute transmission for
Okay.
radio waves, which is...
Is that how we're communicating with Voyager, through radio waves?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, waves of some kind. So it is... Oh, here it is. I'll look it up here. It's 17 hours one-way communication
To Voyager.
to Voyager. That's how far away it is.
Well, okay, but how amazing is it that it only takes 17 hours for a radio wave to travel that far?
That's crazy. It's the second furthest thing that we know, that we have, that's man-made, right? So talk to Voyager 1, which launched before it, is a 34-hour transmission. 34 hours.
That's still baffling me that
It
it can get there in 34
is
hours.
a day and a half. Essentially the speed of light.
Is radio wave the
I mean,
speed of light? I don't know.
it's closer than anything else we have
Yeah.
that'll go that fast. Even the speed of light sometimes is not the speed of light.
Okay, but it's also amazing to me that a radio wave can be concentrated enough and not disturbed to reach that
Right.
far.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to look into what kind of radio waves they're using.
Yeah.
But isn't that wild though?
It's wild.
They're able to. So think about this. Imagine that you had left 30 years ago with 30-year-old technology, and you're being expected. Those are what are out there. That level of technology from 30 years ago is what is giving us data from the furthest out that we've ever been.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome.
Stuff from 30 years ago.
That's so cool.
I mean, think about just how cars have changed in 30 years.
Yeah, seriously.
And so, like, sensors and cameras, like... So, number one, we didn't have cell phones 30 years ago. Well, the general populace didn't. But think of what cameras were available 30 years ago.
Right. And they weren't on phones.
Right. No, but so think about, like, even what those things could do.
Right.
I mean, we all carry around computers that are
Well, the
powers
Voyager,
of 10 stronger than
Voyager,
any of
I don't
us.
know if did Voyager send picture images?
I think it did as it passed
Maybe.
one of the planets.
Okay. Well, anyways,
but they're not very clear.
yeah, it's still amazing
And
that there's
even
software.
there's a ton of like sensors that we have now that we didn't have then, that those things can't do.
Right.
Yeah, and it's just crazy. And they say it should be good to go for another 5 to 10 years.
That's incredible. That's beautiful.
Just wild.
I love that.
I think it's going to be hilarious someday when somebody gets to go out and just like high five the thing. You know what I mean? Like
Eventually, our technology will catch up to the point where we get to catch up to it.
right. Yeah. Yeah, which is a discussion we've had about people going to other
Right.
planets. Like if they
Right.
did make it there, we could beat them there or something like that. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. There's this link I had, but I can't remember what it was. It was funny though. Oh, it was a picture. Here, I'll put it up for you. You can read it because it's that good. Or my iPad's not up there. Hang on.
I'm gonna read some
That's
TILs.
You read? Oh
I'll
yeah.
do that.
I'm glad you have some. I was
Well,
actually gonna text you earlier, or they're mine.
They're yours.
Oh,
yeah.
that's fine. Mine are really good though. Read the president one.
Okay. So, today Jordan learned that Jimmy Carter is the longest lived president, the longest retired president, and the first president to live 40 years after inauguration,
Isn't that crazy?
and the first to reach the age of 95. Yeah, he's been around for a hot second.
Isn't that wild though? That I mean, how many presidents have we had now? And that's 95. 95 is pretty old, but the fact that we've not had anyone reach that age yet.
That is wild. That's with stress, man.
Yeah, it speaks to the stress.
You got it up?
Yeah. Whoa, that's kind of a personal question.
Here
Here we go.
Anti-vaxxers, now's your chance to go to China and prove us all wrong. That's hilarious. That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah. I found that for you.
All right, hit me with your other TILs.
Yes. Okay. I'm scrolling to them. In 1999, multinational cigarette company Philip Morris attempted to convince the Czech Republic that smoking was highly beneficial to the country's economy as more people would die earlier, hence allowing the government to save millions on healthcare, pensions, and public housing.
Oh my gosh. Criminal.
Isn't that crazy?
Brutal.
Yeah. Read the Johnny Cash one. You're gonna...
Johnny Cash's guitar player died in 1968. Cash found himself at a show where the temporary replacement, Carl Perkins, couldn't make it. An audience member asked Cash if he could fill in for the night, and he said yes. Bob Wooton then became Cash's guitar player for the next 29 years. Dude, way to be bold.
Right place at the right time, right?
Right place, right time.
Also, that dude went on to be a bus driver.
After Johnny?
He didn't make hardly any money
Oh, no.
because he was like a fill-in, and
Yeah.
none of it was his written stuff. Like he toured with him and stuff, and he just made an okay living,
Yeah.
and went on to be like a tour bus driver.
Interesting.
Something
Well,
like
I mean, I guess it's not bad to be a tour bus driver. If you're a tour bus driver and you like it, that's good for you.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like he didn't.
You would think he'd be
he
wealthy.
You would
Yeah.
think so, but it was interesting to read through the comments. A lot of people who found themselves in the same place as that guy because they didn't write it, didn't have any rights to the music, all that kind of stuff.
Totally.
They didn't have royalties that went on. He literally just was
Yeah, no royalties. Yeah.
kind of like a roadie, except he played guitar.
Okay, dude. Let's split up these shower thoughts.
Let's do some shower thoughts and then get you to bed
Okay,
because
I'll go
clearly you're
first.
passing out.
Every moment, dude. I've had a busy week.
I know you do.
Every mammal that lives in the water has a layer of fat. Okay, right? Every
Okay,
mammal.
I'm with you so far
This is basically to stop the heat from leaching out of their body into the water, right?
because water's really good at leaching heat.
Because water really sucks down. Water basically sucks the heat out of you. Yeah. Therefore, if mermaids did exist, they would be super fat.
Yeah, that would not be the attractive.
They would be basically sea cows,
Yeah.
which is what they are.
Wait. What if sea cows are mermaids?
Sea cows are mermaids.
They're just like, oh, you don't love me. No.
We don't have no idea what sea cows sound like.
I have no idea what they sound like. All of those high school drama, be true to yourself movies are always about a nerd trying to be popular and realizing it's not for them. There was never a movie made about a popular kid trying to become a nerd and realizing they need to be true to themselves.
That's funny. That's true.
Because nobody would watch that movie.
Yeah, nobody would. Interesting. This is something I've thought about
Yeah.
several times. Children with imaginary friends are considered creative, where adults with imaginary friends are often considered schizophrenic.
It's true.
And I feel like that's not fair.
Well,
Like, at what point? It's interesting that, like, that imaginary cutoff point, you know? Like, there's like, okay, it's cool at 6. You get
I
to
don't
7.
know, because there's a ton of things that are like cute
No,
when a
it's
kid
weird.
does them, but if an adult does them, it's not a good thing. Like
Well,
just
obviously.
pulling your pants off
Yeah,
and running down the
obviously.
street.
Yeah.
Like a kid will do that, and it's like, haha, cute. He
Yeah.
pooped on the sidewalk. An
Right.
adult does that, they go to a hospital.
It's kind of funny. I was thinking about like kids the other day. They were out in the front yard, and my son Knox has just kind of started. He's learning. He's proud of himself because he's learning to pee standing up.
Oh yeah,
And
it's a big feat.
it's
for
a big
man.
feat. And so he pulled up and started peeing out in the front yard. He's like, "Look what I can do!" And then his older sister said, "I could do that too." And pulled down her pants, and they were both peeing standing up in the front yard, which is a
And
messy situation.
for her.
And so I was just like, okay, you guys, you can't do that in the front yard when people are watching. Okay, you can go in the backyard if you really need to go pee, and the bathrooms are full, but you guys should try to go in the bathroom. Okay, it was funny.
At least your daughter.
Yeah.
February 13th is most likely the day when the most hair goes down people's drains. Getting ready for Valentine's.
Oh, boom! Love it. It is impossible to touch any reflection that isn't your own. You're thinking about it. You're like, can I do that? You can't.
I'm gonna beat this.
You can't. It's impossible. You can never touch any reflection that's not your own.
I feel like I can.
You can't. I've thought about it.
I've thought about well, maybe you haven't thought about the things I would think about it.
Right, you would think that, but I did.
But I did. And that's why I programmed you.
And that's why I am your creator.
Lightsabers actually make really good peacekeeping weapons, since it allows Jedi to disarm opponents through amputation without having to worry about the victim dying of blood loss, since the wounds are immediately cauterized.
Yeah, that's funny. That's a good point. Unless
One of the top comments was, I didn't realize that peacetime meant cutting people's limbs off.
yeah,
And then
Sacrifice.
they edited it at the very top to say that, you know, you can edit your comment or your post in Reddit, and it said edit to say, if you want to make a disarming joke, join the hundreds of others that already have.
that's funny. I like that. So we often advise young people not to accept food from strangers, but we advise them to give away food instead of money to strangers. So we tell them, don't accept food from strangers, but give food to strangers. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, it's probably safer for kids. I think the most confusing thing for kids, and I think it was Jerry Seinfeld that brought this up, is like we spend all year telling kids not to take candy from strangers, and then one day a year we make them dress up and go take candy from strangers.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like, wait, I thought you said we can't just all the strangers are going to be giving away the food? Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I got one more.
Maybe superheroes wear capes to hide the zipper on the back of their onesie.
That's surely it. This is very accurate, I feel like. Peeing is a live stream.
It is.
Love it. You got any more?
I have a couple about plastic that I thought were
Okay.
really good. Pizza places deserve some credit for never making plastic packages.
True. Love it.
Also, on the same line, we invented plastic that basically lasts forever and decided to use it for single-use disposable things.
Oh my gosh, I know. Yeah.
It's like, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Why? Why did we do that?
Or it's also ironic that grocery stores now charge $1 for the plastic bags, or however, they charge for plastic bags
Yeah.
now. But you're like, okay, well, sure, I'm going to save the environment, but I'm also buying this soda 2-liter bottle out of plastic. I'm buying this cupcakes held with plastic. I'm buying this strawberries with plastic.
It does not solve the problem.
It's like, okay, well,
at
this
all.
is
It's
this
not even
is
close.
a little bit much, guys. anyways, so that's it, guys. Next week you'll be hearing episode number 50, and we will potentially be sending you some videos uplink as long as our internet's working.
Oh, we're going to be. We will figure it out.
And yeah, we appreciate you all. Hope you all have a great week. And
episode 50 will be coming out to you from
episode will be coming from you from Europe. From Europa.
Europa. I don't think that's how far we're going.
Nah, but it'd be cool if we were.
Oh, dude.
I'd be down.
Let's plan it. For 10 years from now,
All right.
we're going to go to Europa.
You just have to get Elon to help us out.
Where is Europa?
Europa's a planet off of the planet Jupiter, right?
That's a moon.
Or moon, I mean.
I'd go there.
Yeah.
Titan. I'd go to Titan, too. Do some
I could be
skiing.
wrong about that, but I think it's off of Jupiter. Europa.
Yeah, it sounds right. It's probably closer than here.
Yeah. Well, all right, guys. Love y'all. Hope you have a great week. Peace.
See ya when we get to roll.
See ya.